Ladies and gentlemen, this is a doozy. Check it out.
All right, welcoming back great friend and mentor, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, and, of course, Fox News contributor. Newt, thanks for doing this. I want to talk Medicaid with you in a moment or two. But in the beginning, I want to talk about the 100 days, first 100 days. Your column, Trump's Wild Ride Will Transform America. And mine was just promises made, promises kept. But the point is, I think, Newt, look, he's doing what folks elected him to do. I mean, he's a disruptor, he's a transformer, he's a change agent. He's also got a lot of good common sense, and he knows how to wheel and deal and negotiate. But he's doing what people want him to do. He's taking on the elites. He's fighting all these entrenched institutions. He is doing what folks want him to do, Newt. That's the thing. I mean, that's the way I see it. What you think?
Well, I mean, the problem from the standpoint of the elites is that the American people think overwhelmingly that the system is corrupt. They want it changed. They want spending cut. Well, if you're the old order, these are horrifying ideas. Now, it's true, not only did President Trump win, Republicans hold the Senate, they hold the House. The country at large agrees with most of his policies. I mean, look at the numbers. They had, what was it, last month? 9 people crossed the border illegally in the South. 99.9% decline in illegal immigration across the southern border. That's what people wanted. They want the government shaken up. Well, they're working at it pretty hard. They're going to want those tax cuts in that big, beautiful bill. They'll probably get it. And they're for shaking up, frankly, the world order. I think there's a general American consensus that the system as it had evolved was increasingly looting America, rigging the game economically, rigging the game militarily, and making the American taxpayer and the American worker suffer on behalf of the rest of the world. So Trump, in that sense, represents a profound reshaping. I tell everybody, you have to look at Jefferson, Jackson, Lincoln, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Trump, if he succeeds, and it's not done yet, but if he does succeed, will be the 5th great change agent in American history, and that's pretty darn remarkable.
Think of it, one way to think of it is, you know, a blue-collar worker who might be building a new factory, okay, where the whole factory can be written off in year 1 on expensing. I mean, that's how much the tax incentives are going to help, all right? That you think that blue-collar worker cares if Harvard University loses $2 billion because of their anti-Semitism? I say the blue-collar worker's rooting for Trump and against Harvard.
Well, he does care. He's glad it's happening. Look, I mean, I think the American, the numbers we get at the America's New Majority Project, where we do polling every month, 80-something% of the country is sick of left-wing ideas. And it's kind of wild to watch AOC wandering around the country. She's speaking for about 15 to 17% of the country. The rest of the country's fed up with it. They think Harvard's too big, too rich, too arrogant, too left-wing, and in all too many cases, too anti-American. So they're actually with Trump in taking on the big universities.
The other thing, Newt, I mean, we always talk about the big, beautiful bill, tax cuts, deregulation, energy production, and so forth. But you know what? If I may be blunt, Donald Trump has put God back into American society. He's put religion back into American society. He has created a new White House Office of Faith, for example. And he talks a lot about religious freedom, you know, those things. But, I mean, it's something right out of William F. Buckley, God and Man at Yale, you know. You can't have a country, you can't have a society succeed if you don't adhere to Judeo-Christian principles. I would argue that in his first 100 days alone, much less the campaign, Mr. Trump has put God back into society, and it's a very good thing, Newt.
Well, I think that's true, but I'd also point out when he really understood that it was providential that he moved his head at the only possible second to avoid being killed, and then realized about a month later somebody else tried to kill him. I think I know from talking to Speaker Johnson, who prayed with him after that second event, I think Trump is probably profoundly more religious today than he was before he went to Butler, Pennsylvania, because it's personal. I mean, I think he now, and he said this sort of in his inaugural address, that God had spared him for a purpose. And you'll remember both President Reagan and Pope John Paul II had been shot. Both thought and compared notes that they had been spared by God for a purpose. Their purpose was to defeat the Soviet Empire. I think Trump has decided making America great again is the reason that God saved his life.
Well, I think it's shown up, and I think it's a very good thing. We're all blessed for it, and we all benefit from it. On this Medicaid business, one big, beautiful bill, we're going to have to cut spending. I'm just reading some notes that you sent me earlier. On the current services baseline, Medicaid goes from $656 billion to $1.03 trillion. So in other words, in the next 10 years, it goes up another $374 billion. Under the Republican plan or the reconciliation bill, Medicaid will still go up, but by $227 billion. So if you leave it alone, current services $374 billion. But if you look Republicans, it's still growing by $227 billion. That's still a big number. And I don't see what the harm is in redefining eligibility, particularly with respect to able-bodied people who really should not be eligible for Medicaid. Now, you wrote about this, Newt. This is very important. The question is, will the House and Senate people go along with it?
Look, I think the Republicans have to learn what we learned when we balanced the federal budget for the only 4 times in the last 100 years. You have to have message discipline. It is a fact that the Republican plan increases Medicaid spending. Anybody who suggests that they're cutting it are lying, and the Republicans need to take them head on, whether it's CBO or it's the news media or it's the Democrats. It is a lie to suggest that the Republicans are cutting Medicaid. They are increasing it. In fact, over the decade, they increased it by about 24%. You look at, you named just one example, which is requiring able-bodied single males to actually go to work, which is very popular with the American people. Blocking California from paying for illegal immigrants with Medicaid money, which would be very popular with the American people. Fixing a system which the Wall Street Journal just reported has some people registered for Medicaid in 5 states. Now, I mean, who's going to defend that level of corruption and that level of dishonesty? So I do believe that Chairman Guthrie is going to produce a bill at the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is going to do more for people who genuinely need help, reform the things that ought to be reformed, spend at least 24% more on Medicaid. And it turned out in the poll that I sent you, which again came from the America's New Majority Project, when you explain this to people, only 14% of the country regards the Republican increase as a cut. 14%. So the Democrats are going down a road here, which I think will get them beaten badly because they'll be lying. The country will know they're lying. And Republicans just have to calmly and cheerfully say, look, we increase Medicaid spending every year. And then I hope President Trump will go out and campaign in at least 10 congressional districts that Democrats hold that he carried. And if he's out there with 50, 60,000 people per district, he's explaining what I just said, we're going to win big this summer.
All right. We'll leave it there. The great Newt Gingrich. Thank you, Newt.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Can't touch this.
Real deal. That gal on the mic, UncleCoon in the house. Drop the knowledge, stay true, no room for doubt. From debates to celebs, we cover it all. Tune in, hit subscribe, you don't want to miss the call. Real deal. Al UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. Politics, pop culture, and everything between. Big Al's got the scoop, you know what I mean? From Harris to Trump, we break it down. Common sense talk, the best show around. Real. Al UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. some love, support the grind. Big Al's on the rise, one of a kind. UncleCoon podcast, the place to be for real talk, real folks, and real TV. Real Al, UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride.